I think Iraq is a one war. Now, is Iraq going to be a Jeffersonian democracy? No. But it's going to be a representative government that respects the rights of human beings in their country. There's certainly significant issues, and there's churches planted in Iraq by Big Life that are at risk, and they are very concerned about making sure that those churches are not targeted by the adversary. Hopefully that government that comes out of this next election is going to be one that respects the rights of people to worship as they please. The surge is going to make a difference. The surge made the big difference in Iraq. It will make a big difference, and it's already having a big effect. If you look at the operation that's ongoing right now down in Marja, which unfortunately very few of our colleagues are covering, there's very little news about it. Very successful operation. The fact that you've now had arrested in Pakistan several of the senior leadership of the Taliban is very good news. In the middle of a war with the finest military anybody's ever seen in the history of man, why would you want to do something like this in the middle of a war? And how are you going to do it in the middle of a war? And that's the kind of question that it seems to me a lot of other people would be asking. I've also asked, if you've read those columns, how is it that they expect that the military would carry this out? I mean, for example, the commander-in-chief can order a military chaplain to do pretty much whatever he wants. How many military chaplains will you have left in an all-volunteer military when the commander-in-chief orders them to perform same-sex marriages that are only recognized in 3 states today? What Paul did, we now remember because he wrote a lot of great things. In fact, we wouldn't remember any of that had Paul not planted scores of churches all over what we now call the Middle East, Southwest Asia, Eastern Europe, and even all the way to Rome. And so if you look at what Paul did, that's what Big Life is doing. Big Life is going out and planting churches, spreading the gospel, and leaving something behind to nurture those who come to know the Lord. That's of vital importance to all of what we do as a nation. You know, ours is a Judeo-Christian culture. It's at risk today. It's at risk because, in part, we've kind of walked away from it ourselves. And second of all, there's so much of the world that basically has been forced, sometimes at the point of a knife or the tip of a gun, not to in any way subscribe to the teachings of Jesus Christ. You know, I've been millions of dollars in debt. Starvation's a great motivator. You know, the good Lord blessed my best friend and me with 4 kids and now 11 grandkids. And I see the challenge for you guys, young people, being much greater than it was for me. I think your opportunity has been diminished to a certain extent by the way we kind of went about getting and spending in this country. My hope is that what we're not going to leave is, in my generation, is to you a legacy of debt and the inability to get the kind of job where you could employ your God-given gifts and talents. Now, I think that one of the things that you're going to face is reduced expectations. I've got a little expression I use when I'm counseling young people. I say, you know, the greatest cause of anger on the planet, whether it's parents and children, employers and employees, teachers and students, siblings, is unfulfilled expectations. And so I think your generation is going to grow up with perhaps more realistic expectations, but shorter perhaps than some of those who preceded you. And in large part, that's the consequence of what our political leaders have done in this country. And they've basically created a mindset that says, hey, look, don't worry about it. Government will take care of you. If you get in trouble, we'll bail you out. Well, that might apply to a Wall Street bank, but it doesn't apply to you or me. And so I think they need to be cautious about that kind of thing. I think some of that is what you see in the so-called Tea Party movement. I think you saw some of that in the election of Scott Brown up in in Massachusetts. But I would think that the American people were remarkably resilient. You know, this nation's been blessed with bounty beyond measure, with truly the most productive population on the planet. It's the most diverse population on the planet. And so what we've got to be about is encouraging that kind of thing so that you do have the kind of future you deserve.